what if I told you that the world's balance of power is not as clear-cut as it seems? Yes, the world stage, my friends, is a complex theater of power dynamics, far from the binary Cold War era that many of us grew up learning about. Today we're going to embark on a journey that explores this convoluted tapestry of global politics, particularly in the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse. In the wake of the Soviet Union's fall, we've seen a remarkable shift in the world order. Nations, once considered underdogs, have risen to prominence, challenging the traditional powerhouses. But these transformations didn't occur in a vacuum. They were, and continue to be, the result of intricate strategies, covert operations, and a relentless quest for dominance. Now you might be wondering, how did these nations catch up so quickly? How did they manage to level the playing field? Well, the answer lies in the shadows, in the clandestine world of espionage and infiltration. Yes, the spy games of yesteryears have not vanished. They've simply evolved, becoming more sophisticated and pervasive. Espionage has seeped into every level of government, influencing policies, steering agendas, and shaping the world as we know it. It's a ruthless, high-stakes game where the rules are constantly changing. The players, they're not just countries anymore. They're corporations, non-state actors, even individuals, with the power to sway the course of nations. And so, as we delve deeper into this web of global power dynamics, we'll uncover the strategies that nations adopt, the lengths they go to assert their dominance, and the intricate dance of diplomacy and deception they engage in. We'll explore how the fall of the Soviet Union triggered a cascade of events, giving rise to new powers and sparking a new arms race. So let's dive into the fascinating narrative of global politics post the fall of the Soviet Union. Let's unravel the complex and intriguing game of global power dynamics where names and places may change, but the game remains the same. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked a significant shift in global politics. This once formidable superpower, born out of the tumultuous aftermath of the Second World War, was now a shadow of its former self. The events leading up to this dissolution were as complex as they were transformative. The Soviet Union's decline started in the mid-80s, with economic stagnation and political unrest brewing beneath the surface. The introduction of policies like perestroika and glasnost by Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union, were intended to reform the economy and open up the society. However, these policies, combined with rising nationalism among the republics, inadvertently accelerated the dissolution process. By the end of 1991, all 15 republics had declared independence, leading to the official dissolution of the Soviet Union. The aftermath was a world that looked very different. The bipolar power structure of the Cold War era, with its clear divide between East and West, was no more. In its place, a multipolar world began to emerge with multiple centers of power. The United States stood as the sole superpower, a position it had not enjoyed since before the Second World War. But the fall of the Soviet Union also meant that other nations previously under its shadow could now step onto the global stage. Countries like China and India began to assert their positions, not just economically but also politically and militarily. In Europe, the end of the Soviet Union led to the expansion of the European Union and NATO, changing the dynamics of the continent. It also saw the rise of Russia, the successor state to the Soviet Union, which, despite initial struggles, has managed to reassert itself on the world stage. The fall of the Soviet Union was not just the end of a superpower, it was the beginning of a new era in global politics, an era marked by shifting alliances, emerging powers, and new challenges. With the Soviet Union out of the picture, the stage was set for a new world order. In the wake of the Soviet Union's fall, several nations seized the opportunity to make their mark on the global stage. Countries like China, India, and Brazil, among others, began to rise in power, quietly moving their chess pieces across the global board. China, with its vast population and a rapidly expanding economy, became a formidable contender. Investing heavily in technology and infrastructure, China has sought to redefine the global economic landscape. The dragon has indeed awoken, and it breathes fire that could rival that of the American eagle. India, on the other hand, has wielded the power of its young and dynamic workforce. With a booming IT sector and a focus on education and innovation, India has become a hub for technological advancements. The country has successfully leveraged its demographic dividend to catch up with the global powers, illustrating the potential of a nation when its citizens are its greatest resource. And then there's Brazil, a country rich in natural resources. Brazil has capitalized on its agricultural and mineral wealth to bolster its economy. Moreover, its strategic geographic location has made it a key player in international trade, further strengthening its economic foothold. Each of these nations has adopted distinct strategies, yet they share a common thread, an unwavering determination to rise. They've embraced globalization, they've invested in their people and industries, and they've leveraged their unique strengths, all in a bid to catch up with the United States. Yet this race to power hasn't been without its challenges. Economic disparities, political instability, and environmental concerns have often threatened to derail their progress, but these nations have persevered, continuously adapting and innovating in response to these obstacles. In the grand game of global power dynamics, these countries have shown that the rules of the game can be rewritten. They've demonstrated that with the right strategies, even nations once considered underdogs can become key players. Indeed, the world stage was rapidly transforming. Espionage and infiltration have long been tools in the arsenal of nations vying for power. They are the shadowy underbelly of global politics, the hidden chess pieces that sway the balance of power in ways that we often underestimate. Over the years, the world has seen a multitude of instances where nations have used these tactics to gain an upper hand. It's not always about the direct show of might or the number of weapons a nation possesses. Sometimes it's about the information you hold, the secrets you know, and the ability to influence from within. The art of espionage isn't just about stealing secrets, it's about understanding the enemy, their strategies, their weaknesses. It's about planting seeds of doubt, creating confusion, and in some cases even turning allies into foes. The power of a well-placed spy or a successfully infiltrated operation can be far-reaching and devastating. Infiltration, on the other hand, is a more direct approach. It involves inserting individuals or groups into organizations or nations with the aim of influencing decisions, gathering intelligence, or disrupting operations. It's a high-risk strategy, but when successful, it can yield significant results. Take, for instance, the numerous reported cases of cyber espionage where hackers backed by nations infiltrate foreign networks to steal sensitive information. Or consider the cases of double agents who worked within the intelligence agencies of their own countries, only to be feeding information to a rival power. But it's important to remember that while these tactics can give a country an advantage, they also carry significant risks. A failed operation can lead to international incidents, strained relations, and even outright conflict. The stakes in this shadowy world are incredibly high. As we delve deeper into the intricate web of global politics, it's clear that the role of espionage and infiltration is far from marginal. These tactics are central to the strategies of nations shaping the world as we know it. Espionage and infiltration, it seems, are the unsung heroes or villains, depending on where you stand, of this global game of thrones. As nations jostled for position on the global stage, a new arms race was silently taking shape. This was not the conventional contest of nuclear might that once threatened the world with annihilation during the Cold War. This was a different beast altogether, a race of technological innovation and advanced weaponry. A profound shift was occurring. Nations that were once considered less powerful, perhaps even insignificant, in the grand scheme of global power dynamics, began to flex their military muscles. Their arsenals started brimming with advanced weaponry, a stark contrast to their earlier capabilities. This dramatic transformation wasn't fortuitous, rather it was the result of strategic maneuvering, relentless development, and in some cases espionage and infiltration. Countries such as China, North Korea, Iran, among others, have seemingly caught up with the United States, unveiling advanced weaponry that left the world in awe and apprehension. Hypersonic missiles, stealth drones, cyber warfare capabilities, and even space weapons. The new arms race was all about gaining the upper hand in these cutting-edge domains. But what does this mean for the world? The implications are indeed profound. This new arms race has the potential to destabilize the existing world order. It threatens to trigger a cascade of arms proliferation among other nations, driven by fear and the desire for self-preservation. This could lead to unforeseen conflicts as nations scramble to assert their dominance. Moreover, the rapid emergence of new technologies has blurred the lines of warfare. Cyber attacks can cripple nations without a single bullet being fired. Space weapons can disrupt critical infrastructure and satellites, leaving countries blind and deaf in the blink of an eye. These are the new battlefronts, and they are as real and dangerous as any conventional war. The world was now witnessing a silent but deadly race for supremacy, a race that is not only about who has the most weapons, but who has the most advanced ones. This new arms race is a stark reminder of our times, a time of rapid technological progress and equally rapid power shifts. And as the stakes continue to rise, so does the urgency to manage and navigate this complex and volatile landscape. Despite the changing faces and shifting alliances, the game of global power remains the same. The stage may shift, the actors might don different masks, but the drama of politics and power continues with the same age-old fervor. As we've observed over the years, the strategies of subterfuge, manipulation, and ruthless tactics persist, regardless of the era or the players involved. The chessboard of world politics is littered with pawns and knights, kings and queens, each maneuvering for a taste of power, a slice of the global pie. Let's take a moment to reflect on the idea that while players may change, the game remains the same. The names and faces of global leaders may change, countries might rise and fall, but the underlying principles of power dynamics remain as steadfast as ever. Think about it, the cloak and dagger games of espionage, the political jostling, the scramble for resources and the never-ending arms race, they all echo the same sentiments that have been reverberating through the corridors of power for centuries. The tactics may have evolved, becoming more sophisticated and covert, but at their core they are the same as they have always been. The desire for control, for dominance, for supremacy, these are the driving forces that have shaped the world as we know it. The same old game plays out in different arenas, under different guises. In the boardrooms of multinational corporations, in the hallowed halls of government, on the digital frontier of cyber warfare, the game of power continues unabated. And so we see that the essence of global politics is not so much about the players, but rather the game itself. It's about the strategies employed, the tactics used, and the prize that everyone is vying for: power. In this global game of thrones, it's always about power, no matter who's playing. We've journeyed through a complex narrative of power, espionage, and shifting alliances. We've seen how the fall of the Soviet Union, a landmark event in the 20th century, transformed the global landscape. Our world became a chessboard of nations, each vying for influence and supremacy, each employing their own strategies in this intricate global game of thrones. We explored how new powers have risen, stepping into the void left by the Soviet Union's demise. Countries that once stood in the shadow of giants are now showcasing their strength, displaying advanced weaponry that was once beyond their reach. It's a testament to the fluidity of power and the relentless human spirit that seeks to acquire it. The role of espionage and infiltration in this power dynamics cannot be overstated. The fall of the Soviet Union didn't spell the end of clandestine operations. Instead, it led to a proliferation of them. Espionage became an essential tool for nations to gain an edge, a way to penetrate the defenses of rivals and gain valuable information. The names and faces may have changed, but the game remains the same. We also examined the new arms race, a grim reminder of the lengths nations will go to preserve their power. The development and acquisition of advanced weaponry have become a measure of a nation's strength, a deterrent against aggression, and a means to secure their place in the world. So what is the takeaway from this intricate tapestry of global power dynamics? It's that the quest for power is a constant driving force in our world. It shapes nations, dictates policies, and influences the course of history. It's a game that's as old as civilization itself, and it shows no sign of ending. In this ever-changing world, one thing remains constant: the ceaseless pursuit of power. The game continues, and so does our watch.